Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Fauziah. I'm from Elementary School Teacher Education, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Muhammadiyah University in Purwokerto. On this association as an oral presenter at the International Conference on Child Education, I will explain the contents of the research article with the title Preparedness of Elementary School Community in Facing Volcanic Eruption in BANYUMAS Regency. The research was assisted by Agung Nugroho Magister, the supervisor. Abstract. Disasters are inevitable, but people can prepare themselves to minimize the impact of this disaster. Disaster risk reduction measures are particularly necessary to minimize the risks associated with volcanic eruption. By minimizing threats and vulnerabilities, individuals at risk can reduce the potential for disaster. Preparedness is a process aimed at anticipating disaster. This observation aims to assess the knowledge and action taken for emergency response planning in elementary school, specifically in response to volcanic eruption in BANYUMAS Regency. The research methodology employed was descriptive and qualitative. The analysis of existing research on the importance of disaster preparedness in school has shown positive results. The individual involved demonstrate an understanding of the knowledge and attitudes necessary for emergency response plan in the event of a volcanic eruption. Keyword: school community prepared and volcanic eruption. Introduction. Indonesia is a country prone to disaster due to its geographical position. It sits at the intersection of three tectonic plates. The presence of volcanoes in Indonesia is a result of its location at the confluence of four tectonic plates: the Indian Ocean and the Asia Pacific, Australian and continental plates. These active volcanoes pose a significant risk of eruption. Due to this condition, disaster can occur in various regions of Indonesia, threatening the life, property, and safety of people residing in mountainous areas, especially those living near volcanic slopes. One area close to the slopes of Mount Slamet is the Baturaden subdistrict. Kalipagu Hamlet is a village location in the Baturaden subdistrict. Kalipagu is the highest village in the Baturaden subdistrict and is situated near Mount Slamet, as can be observed on the maps. BANYUMAS is a regency that has a regional disaster management agency within its jurisdiction because the Baturaden subdistrict is prone to disaster. Among the potential disaster in BANYUMAS Regency is volcanic eruption. Now, Indonesia faces a serious challenge in disaster management as the effort to mitigate and reduce disaster risk remain weak. There is a lack of awareness and participation in disaster risk reduction, especially among schools. In the event of a disaster, there are not only significant material losses but also loss of life. Students living in disaster-prone areas need to reserve disaster preparedness and mitigation education. Children are particularly vulnerable to disaster, which may be attributed to various factors in the surrounding that them underbirth. Dealing with volcanic eruption cannot be done steadily. It requires pre-disaster preparation through a process called disaster management. The initial step in volcanic disaster management is to understanding the nature of the disaster, enabling the selection of appropriate action for disaster management before, during, and after the event. Research methodology. The method used in this observation is qualitative research. Two types of data are used, namely primary and secondary data sources. The result of observation and interview with grade 1, 4 librarian, teacher as well as school and class student, 4, 5, and 6, which principles are used as primary data sources. In this research, the data analysis technique from Mills and Huberman is applied, which divides into 1. Data collection, 2. Data reduction, 3. Presentation of information, and conclusion drawing. Finding and discussion. Based on the data collection by the research at Kalipago Elementary School in Katanga Hamad, Baturaden Subdistrict, this observation focused on the preparedness of the elementary school in Kalipago, Katanga Village, Baturaden Subdistrict, to deal with volcanic eruption. Specifically, it examines the aspect of knowledge and attitude in the emergency response plan. Preparedness at Kalipago Elementary School in facing volcanic eruption is action in terms of knowledge and attitude in the emergency response plan. 1. Knowledge aspect. School play a crucial role in education students about disaster. Having knowledge about natural disaster and volcanic eruption is essential for students to understand how to handle disaster and develop a preparedness mindset. School first a support system to provide knowledge and understanding of disaster to students. One of the factors that influence disaster preparedness is knowledge. The knowledge and hours of the school principal, teacher, and elementary school student regency volcanic eruption influence their character and concrete to be vigilant and prepared in the event of an eruption. The school principal, teacher, and student understand that the school location is an area prone to volcanic disaster, particularly Mount Slamet, which is an active volcano that could erupt at any time. Despite being location a disaster-prone area, the school has never conducted disaster preparedness socialization because there has been no socialization from the local Regency disaster management agency for school. But the teacher still gives profit with information about disaster and the importance of disaster preparedness. Necessary knowledge can be important to students through classroom lesson. This is explained in the social study lesson for grade 4, 5, and 6. Teacher explain and provide example of what should be done in the event of a volcanic eruption. While disaster mitigation is not specifically taught in the school, teacher explain evacuation method and the activities that must be carried out in the event of a disaster in social study education. In general, students, after being interviewed, demonstrate that they understand what a volcano is, how it eruption, and they are with that Mount Slamet near their school is an active volcano that can eruption. According to the student, the sign of a volcanic eruption include the emergency of the lava, fire, and dangerous hot rock. Kalipago Elementary School has not received specific disaster training, but from the interview, it is mentioned that some teachers have participated in disaster management training education conducted by the local village confirmed Regency volcanic eruption. I can be said that the observers, student, and teacher have a good understanding of volcanic eruption and their mitigation. However, they ensure the quantity of this knowledge for future generation. Regular social lesson and training by responsible authorities are still needed. 2. Attitude aspect. Schools are where almost all children gather to learn, making them suitable place to prepare them for disaster management through socialization and other activity at school. The result of interview at Kalipago Elementary School regarding the attitude to be taken during disaster show that the school community is aware of the action to be taken in the event of a volcanic eruption. If a disaster occurs, they are instructed to follow the government instruction and remain calm. When signs of an impending eruption appear, they prepare themselves and essential items for evacuation to a safer location. Students express sadness when there is a volcanic eruption. They mention that in the event of a disaster, the essential activity is to evacuate and ensure the safety of their peers and families. I can be conclude that the observed students in the school have a moderate level of understanding regarding volcanic disaster and their mitigation. However, a regular education and training program conducted by relevant authorities are still needed to ensure the transfer of this knowledge to future generations. In conclusion, the knowledge relates to the mitigation or preparation for the dangers of the Mount Slamet eruption is general at the moderate level among the observed elementary school community. Conclusion: based on the observation and discussion provided, it can be concluded that the observation conducted on the prepared of elementary school in the Batu district to first volcanic eruption indicates the term of human resources, including knowledge and attitude in emergency response plan. The knowledge and attitude of the principal and teacher at Kalipago in dealing with disaster are considered good. The principal and teacher are aware of the school location in a disaster-prone area and understand the necessary attitude and action to be taken before and during disaster. In terms of student knowledge, it can be classified as moderate, as most students have knowledge related to disaster, particularly volcanic eruption. However, there is lack of disaster mitigation training and socialization or simulation due to insufficient involvement of relevant stakeholders. Thanks all the explanation from my article. I apologize if there is wrong word, and thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.